February 21st, 1967. The Apollo program, already several years in development, is ready to hit the ground running with its first manned test flight only a couple months after the final flight of the Gemini project. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and rookie Roger Chaffee make up the first three-man American crew to fly into space. But the Apollo Block 1 spacecraft is very flawed. During a pad countdown demonstration test on January 27th, a fire breaks out in the sealed cockpit due to frayed wiring and faulty insulation. Pressurized with 16 pounds per square inch of pure oxygen, the interior of the capsule soars to thousands of degrees Fahrenheit within seconds. Nobody survives.
Apollo astronauts Roger Chaffee, Edward White, and Gus Grissom lose their lives in a tragic flash fire aboard their grounded space capsule. The tragedy occurred during a simulated countdown for the first flight of the Apollo program, whose goal is to put a man on the moon by 1970.
NASA is forced to perform an extensive internal investigation, setting the moon program back nearly 15 months. Officials at NASA are uncertain whether or not they were burying their three colleagues or the entire Apollo program. NASA picks up the pieces and starts from scratch. Apollo 2 and 3 are canceled. 4, 5, and 6 are unmanned test flights. The new manned mission to perform a full orbital evaluation of the Block 2 Command and Service Module now falls to the crew of Apollo 7, set to launch in October of 1968. Commanded by one veteran and two rookies, Apollo 7 will fulfill the mission of Apollo 1, launching on the smaller Saturn 1B rocket into Earth orbit. It is commanded by a two-time veteran of spaceflight. Wally Schirra first flew on Sigma 7, the third orbital mission in the Mercury program. He later flew on Gemini 6, making the first successful rendezvous in space. Flying alongside Wally are rookies Don F. Iselli, command module pilot, and R. Walter Cunningham, junior pilot. The three-man crew quickly become the new heroes of the Apollo program, which is seen as rising out of the ashes and back into the limelight. Following bravely in Grissom, White, and Chaffee's footsteps, Schirra, Iselli, and Cunningham prepare to launch on brand new hardware for a new golden era of manned spaceflight. On October 11th, 1968, Apollo 7 is cleared for launch. Keeping a close eye on the wind, NASA begins the countdown for the first manned mission in the program that will take humans to the moon.
10 seconds and counting. We still are go at this time. Coming up on 1 minute. Mark, T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We are go for Apollo 7 at this time. T-minus 50 seconds. The vehicle now pressurized, and the vehicle is go, as is the spacecraft at this time. Coming up on the 40-second mark. T-minus 40 seconds and counting. T-minus 40. All reports look good from here in the blockhouse at this time. All aspects of the mission go, T-minus 30 seconds and counting. We'll get ignition of those 8 engines in the first stage at the 3-second mark in the countdown. Now T-minus 21 seconds and counting. We have completed our power transfer. The Saturn 1B launch vehicle, which now weighs 1.3 million pounds, coming up on the 10-second mark. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
We have ignition. Commit liftoff. We have liftoff. This is launch control. We have the tower.
Launch tower clear. 12 seconds out. Roll program has commenced.
It's tracking good.
24 seconds out, and Schirra reports the pitch program has commenced.
5,005 degrees. Roll complete.
40 seconds. The roll program is
Roger,
complete.
I'm just getting a little noisy now.
We've got ignition and new system up to thrust on the second stage. Thrust is okay at 2 minutes 40 seconds into the flight.
After Apollo 7 enters Earth orbit, the crew quickly vents the fuel and activates the brand new spacecraft's orbital navigation systems. 2 hours and 55 minutes after launch, Iseli flips 2 switches and cuts the explosive bolts which hold the spacecraft firmly against the rocket. The crew quickly turn the spacecraft around and observe the S-4B as it orbits the Earth in tandem with Apollo 7. Unlike any other spaceflight, the crew experiences heightened levels of motion sickness in the hours following the launch. This is due to the much increased interior room of the Apollo capsule, which shakes the astronaut occupants around much more than the cramped cabins of Mercury or Gemini.
Apollo 7 Houston, how close are you now?
We're close to about 70 feet. It's tumbling rather. Yeah, the saw panel on the opposite side of one large sphere is sticking out by the engine. Does not have a flashing light. The other 3 are working fine.
Roger, copy.
Hey, what were the minutes on the Get Eye? I missed the minutes.
Okay, minutes on Get Eye 20.
The crew then settle into the routine of testing systems, subsystems, and backup systems to verify the integrity and reliability of all aspects of the Apollo command and service module. Over the course of the mission, they will start and restart the service propulsion system engine a total of 8 times, changing their own trajectory in orbit of the Earth. One added benefit of the increased space of the Apollo capsule is the ability to transmit live TV broadcast video from space down to Earth. All 3 major networks tune in to the Wally, Walt, and Don show, high up in the Apollo room, speaking to millions of Americans ready to get their first live images of life as an astronaut.
Looks good. I can see Wally Hamlet now, and Don has a smile on his face, and there's Walt. The definition is pretty good down here. I can see the center hatch.
That's Don Isley talking. Now he's holding up a sign.
Real good.
The lovely Apollo room at high atop everything.
That's right. Coming to you live from outer space. The one and only original Apollo orbiting roadshow. Starring the great acrobats of outer space, Wally Schirra and Walt Cunningham. Yeah.
Just a minute, Wally, let's see. Oh, it's a little message to Deke Slayton. A little bit closer, Wally. Kind of looks like something about are you a...
That's right.
Looks like it says, are you a turtle, Deke Slayton?
That's right.
Schirra, Iseli, and Cunningham's extroverted personalities quickly drew a large audience and added some color to the grainy black and white broadcasts. The first week of Apollo 7 went flawlessly, with the crew maintaining work schedules and testing every single system within the spacecraft successfully. Problems encountered by the crew were very minor, including a stuck trigger on the drinking water spout and a fritzy electrical system. The crew reaped the rewards of the large interior space as well as the consequences. Hot food, aerobatics, and the ability to stretch quickly became the favorite pastime of Apollo 7. However, the motion sickness experienced after launch led to Commander Schirra developing a severe head cold, which quickly spread to Iseli. This led to a less than happy crew on the final 4 days of the mission, and exchanges between the crew of Apollo 7 and Mission Control quickly became snappy and uncomfortable. This unfortunately would lead to Iseli and Cunningham being rejected from future spaceflights. Despite its solely engineering-oriented objectives, some minor scientific research was carried out aboard Apollo 7 over its 11-day flight. Liquid behavior in microgravity and Earth observation was carried out by the crew, On the final day of the mission, Schirra's sinuses had become so clogged that he refused to don his spacesuit helmet during re-entry and landing, for fear that he may burst his eardrums in the sudden pressure change. This mutiny in space was a first for NASA, but before they could punish Schirra for his actions, he retired as an astronaut. Years later, the ever-comedic Schirra would ironically be the star of several decongestant commercials for the drug Actifed.
Is it really possible to suffer cold symptoms in space? You bet it is. It happened to me on Apollo 7, and it could happen on the new space shuttles, too. That's why, old man...
On October 22nd, 1968, the crew of Apollo 7 fired the Service Propulsion System a ninth and final time to put their spacecraft on a re-entry course with the atmosphere of Earth.
Now we have a report from the Essex that the spacecraft was in what's called stable 1 in NASA talk. That means they were heads down. They were submerged there with their blunt bottom side up toward the air, which probably precluded a lot of transmission. However, they have inflated apparently in what...
I think without any desire certainly to take the edge off the tremendous step that Apollo 7 represents, I should remind us all that space flight still involves risks.
Despite the difficulties and disagreements between ground and crew, Apollo 7 had been an extreme success overall. Performing a shakedown cruise, the crew verified that the Apollo Block 2 Command and Service Module was truly a moon-worthy spacecraft, and so many mission objectives were achieved on Apollo 7 that NASA took the risk and would shoot for the moon only 2 months later on Apollo 8.
I'm in love with you.